Hello? Okay.
Cool.
Mike Stone, aka Crew, Map Digital Magazine, episode 3 with Quincy Doenges. Everybody needs to get the name right. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. First off, it's a pleasure to talk and share my experience with everybody.
Absolutely.
So I am a second-year master's student, finishing up my last semester here at Baylor University for my percussion performance degree, my master's in percussion performance. And my role here is to provide music and provide lessons for people that want to learn percussion, and provide the community with performances and providing local high schools with clinicians and lessons of their own to help propel music forward in this realm.
So you do a lot already
Yeah.
here at the school.
Yep.
And you got a real unique skill set because it aren't the typical pieces of equipment that everybody uses, like just guitar and keyboard. So what drew you to fooling with the xylophones and
so I started with piano. I started piano at a really young age. I started about maybe 8 years old, about third grade. I did that for about 5 years. I started taking lessons. I was never really too attached with the instrument. I enjoyed playing it, but it was kind of more of just like a thing just to kind of keep my hands going and to keep music flowing. It wasn't until about 6th grade where you're required from where I'm from to either do choir, orchestra, or band. And so I was stuck in that situation of like, all right, do I want to play piano with the choir? Do I want to play a brass instrument? Do I want to play like a trumpet or like a saxophone or like a flute? And I was really drawn into percussion and how, made me look cool and how there was so many instruments and how I loved in the marching band, like the quad drums where you have 4 drums, even though they weighed like 50 pounds,
Oh yeah, they're really heavy.
Yeah, they're definitely heavy. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And it really pulled me in. So the night before auditions, we had an audition for that. That was what made percussion unique, is that you had to audition to become a percussionist. I stayed up and played a rock band all night, trying to just get something. Was it beneficial? Probably not. And I was eventually accepted as a percussionist then, and that's when my life kind of started taking this realm. It wasn't really until the end of middle school time where like I really started getting invested a little bit more into it, where like I dropped piano and I kind of just switched to percussion. I started taking private lessons with the teacher. I started doing more solo stuff. I started doing more my own personal practice time of it. It wasn't really until then where I really took the next step of making this a career. It was in high school, about my second year, about sophomore year. I was like, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoy practicing. I really enjoy the sense of fulfillment of,
express yourself, right?
Yeah, express myself in different ways, and it was fun. Even though people were like, "Oh, that's not,
typical."
Yeah, it's not typical, But it was a great time, and I've like the successes that I've had, all were really meaningful for me, and it was something that like, okay, someone can pick up a guitar and learn a new song, and that's their type of success, and that totally is. For me, it was like I go to a festival and I play well, and then it's like, okay, that felt really good. Where it wasn't like a 10-minute practice session; it was like a 3-month practice session, And so I really enjoyed the longevity of it. Of like nothing will come in one session. Nothing. If I learn a new piece, I'm not going to learn it in one day, in 1 hour. It takes me a couple months. It takes me a couple weeks, and that's what I really enjoy about what I do.
That's that long process. I mean, that's like life too, right? Like nothing just comes quick, and usually whatever does is gone quick. But
it definitely taught me patience.
Patience, yes. I can only imagine if you were working on this stuff and you were in a hurry. Everybody could tell you're rushing it. Maybe it may even come off aggressive, right? So. It has. Plus, the music is very calming sounding anyway. So I imagine that the mind state you got to be in is something similar, right?
Yeah. I do a lot of meditation, and that's kind of just because performance in our realm is stressful, and I'm not sure if it's because of the innate like structure of what like percussionists or classical contemporary percussionists or even just classical musicians do, where like every performance isn't like, you know, just like another thing. You know, for someone that plays guitar or like drum set with a band, you know, it's like an everyday thing. Oh, here, I'll pick up guitar and I'll just start playing with people. And so it's like typical for them to like, okay, I don't really get nerves anymore because I've done this 1,000 times. For us, it's like, okay, well, I can't really like pack up this instrument in my car in 5 minutes and head off to a show. You know, it takes me a little bit longer, so performance opportunities aren't as open. So for us, like meditation is kind of a big thing for us because we always get nervous when we play, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, guitarists probably get nervous and stuff like that, but we don't get as many opportunities, and when we do, they're at a higher level of importance, you know, more stress, more time we have to really think and concentrate on the performance. So.
And would you say because of the complexity of the preparation, this is more of it's an art to it? Of even putting it together, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do believe all art is art, you know, from the realm of like hip hop to the realm of R&B to the realm of jazz to the realm of rock band to the realm of contemporary percussion or classical percussion. It is all art, and in the end of the day, like we're all providing something for a community, and the end goal being music and something that is pleasurable to listen to, you know.
Exactly.
And so I think for us, just because it looks a little bit different, still has a significant meaning to it.
And you're mainly or solely standing up when you're performing?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, we do a lot of drum set stuff, and there you're obviously sitting to play drum set. But most of the time, we mostly stand, and so we burn a lot of calories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I bet you that even did you feel more nervous on the standing parts because? Like in front of a crowd, if you're sitting, it kind of takes a little bit of the edge off, right? But if you're standing, you know, you're conscious of your posture. You might have a little shake or something, right?
Yeah. No, honestly. So a big part, like I said, is auditions. Like I'm not really in that realm, not really too important, but it is a valuable aspect to our education is taking orchestral auditions. The big thing. One audition comes up, and it you know, we have 500 people auditioning for one spot, right? It's a very competitive scheme. What some people do is, because they have to stand to play everything, if they're sitting down practicing on a drum, then it's like, okay, I've been doing this, so why don't I just go to an audition, bring a chair in, and then do it there? Maybe I'm a little bit more relaxed. Maybe I can just focus on my hands, and rather than having to worry about what is my whole body posture.
Yeah. So. Okay, and that's a good tactic too, right?
Yeah.
And plus, if it's an audition, they're really mainly trying to just hear what you produce versus how you're looking while you do it.
Yeah.
If you got the job done sitting, then you're all right. You can go standing.
The big thing to help with diversity and to help with, you know, because there's been a lot of clause in the orchestra of like sexism and like not enough women being employed in the orchestra. Or, you know, people of color, you know, there's a lot of diversity problems with it that they're trying to tackle. And what they're trying to do now is screened auditions. Most auditions are screened. So most of the auditionees don't even know what they look like or what they're doing behind the stage. They only hear what they sound like.
Nice.
Matters. Yeah, exactly. It's what matters in the end. And so that means that they can kind of get really picky. And that's where like auditions are now a very strict thing that, you know, people spend a lot of time doing, and that's, for me, that's not my realm. It's too much time for me. I focus on producing for the community and kind of reaching out in that way. So
and for the crowd, the audience that likes this particular type of music, what do you feel like it does for them when they hear it? I mean, generally, I'm sure it has a positive effect, but you know, like what have you seen that's like an effect for the audience?
Yeah. So. I talk about this a lot at my shows, is that, you know, at the end of the day, the audience may not completely relate to the music. They may not like fully like it, especially as a percussionist when we have so many instruments. They may not like an instrument that I'm playing. They may not, if there are a percussionist, they might not like the way I'm playing the instrument. But what I try to tell people is to diversify themselves in the music, right? So often in music we get so stuck into like one realm of music. Oh, I like this genre, so I'm only going to listen to this genre, which is fine. But as percussionists, and what my role is for the community, is I try to provide an outlet for other avenues. What are other types of music that somebody may have never heard of before? Or what can I do differently that maybe someone at the end of the day be like, hey, because at the end of the day we're all, hungry musicians, you know, we don't make a lot of money doing this kind of stuff. And so maybe it's like, hey, maybe I'll go support, or maybe even just go, let's go to a show, you know, maybe this guy's playing in the community. Maybe let's go check it out, you know. In that, it's a win in my book. Whether I get no money at all from a gig, but I just get people that appreciate the music, that's a win in my book. As long as I can bring people together to, you know, experience something that they may not have experienced before.
And how do you feel when you're performing? Like, what does it do for you? You feel like you get stuff off your chest? You feel like you loose at the end of it?
Yeah. You know, it's really exhilarating. Again, it depends on the piece. You know, if I'm working on a massive multi-solo, at the end of it, my heart rate is like 200 BPM. I'm sweating, you know. It all depends on the situation. In the community stuff where it's like a very light-hearted stuff, where like people are just there to kind of have some fun. Maybe I'm not dressed in like professional clothing. It's very chill, you know. And like at the end of it, it's like, wow, that was really fun, and I feel good, and I feel like I did something. If it's in a concert hall where there's, you know, 200 people watching me,
nice,
and I have, you know, formal dress on and it's not comfortable, then at the end of the show I may be sweating. I'll be like, okay, thank God it's over. That's right. You know, music isn't always, especially for percussionists and for what I do, isn't always completely relaxing. And that's where we have to find that relaxing part of it. You know, there's some stuff, some music that's like really stressful, really hard. It takes a lot of concentration. So at the end of like a 12-minute piece, it feels like you worked out for 4 hours, you know? It is truly a mental game at the end of it. And that's what makes the strongest performers, is when they can go play, back to the orchestra stuff, or some orchestras, some symphonies go on for like an hour and a half, right? You think about like some movements maybe 45 minutes long and you don't play. Now, what makes a professional musician is after that 45 minutes, you're sitting there not playing your instrument to walk up and play perfectly is what kind of is the struggle for us. So it's very stressful in that way, where it's really long, really mentally challenging, where you have one shot to come in.
You don't even have the warm-up section. It's like just be ready. And then wait and then perform.
Yep. And obviously we warm up beforehand, but like again, 45 minutes of not touching the drum. You know.
Wonder if you know how to do it.
Yep. Exactly. So there's tactics to kind of do it. We call it pre-game rituals, where you have to walk up and you maybe like feel like you touch something on the drum, whether it's the rim or like the smallest part of the head, to kind of get the feel of the sticks before you play. But really in the end, it takes hours of practice and hours of discovery.
Because it needs to be second nature, you're not even really thinking. Also, when it comes to the performances, how much of it is collaborative? Like I know you mentioned doing it with at least one other person, but like how big can this get where more people are involved?
In our realm, the more people, the better. You're more likely to succeed, and more people have drawn in. Most pieces are written in a chamber setting. Now, not all pieces, obviously, a lot of solo pieces. But in the grand scheme of things, if we're trying to be a successful musician, then we need to collaborate with other musicians. And that's what we collaborate doing, is a wide variety. Think about it as like you have 4 people in a group doing one piece. You now have 4 different outlets to reach out to more people. More people getting connected, right? So a lot of what we do is collaborative. And I feel like myself, I'm more of a chamber musician, which is what we call group setting. Whether it's in a large group of like 400 people, of like a marching band, or whether it's in a smaller group of maybe 20, like a jazz band. We're all collaborating with musicians, and that's what makes music really fun. Is now you're playing with people and you're like communicating across the board. That's why like jazz is phenomenal, because like you'll do something and then someone's like, "Ha, I know what you did there. Like I picked that up," and then they take a solo and they do the same thing, right?
And everybody else, it may have went over their head. But
exactly. And so that's how you can kind of tell, especially in a jazz setting. The people that are jazz artists, because then they kind of pick it up. They're like, "Oh, I see what he did there,"
That's right.
And so it's kind of like a language at the end of the day. Is that we're all kind of communicating this language.
And that language transcends any kind of divisions. What sets us apart? We find the commonalities within everybody. So.
For sure.
And that's something that I already knew. Once I knew you were dealing with the percussion, I was like, I gotta try to get an interview with him, because for one that's different too. I don't know too much about it, but I do know it's expressive. When I heard you play, when I hit that link, I said, I'm not used to this, but he's saying something. Like he's getting, not necessarily like you're stressing out, but I'm like, what language is this? Because he has something to say. And I appreciated it. You know, I was like, well, look, I gotta kind of see this firsthand.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us so different. Is like for like a songwriter, they're expressing their own feelings in their own way, right? They're expressing, okay, I wrote these lyrics, I wrote these chords. This is how I feel. This is how I'm gonna express it, right? For us, our expression is written through the composer's lens, right? A composer writes a piece, and they kind of give us these guidelines, which is music, you know, which is what the written music is. Hey, I want you to play these notes at this dynamic level, at this tempo. Okay, cool. You kind of take that, and then each performer kind of puts in their own. Okay, maybe I'm gonna, you know, do something different with it. Maybe I want this. Maybe I'm gonna use these type of mallets in our way, or maybe I'm gonna, you know, if we're playing with the vibraphone and the fan, maybe I'm gonna turn the fan on the highest setting so it has a different sound. You know, there are different ways that we can approach it, and I feel like that's what makes for us. Music is always a collaborative way because we're not, in the end of the day, it's not really on us of what we're doing. We're expressing a composer's intent, right?
That's
what did the composer want to do with this? And what did he intend with it? And how can I express that?
There's meaning behind everything. Yes, definitely. So.
Yep.
And what do you have coming up? I mean, I understand you got a trip coming up.
Yep.
You also got a recital coming up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so March 31st, 7:30 o'clock in Jones Concert Hall here in McCrary Music Building. I'll do my solo recital. It would be a culmination of not only my master's degree, but also my 6 years in university, my undergrad, but also my master's degree and what I've kind of come out to be. So it'll be a really rewarding experience for me. It's gonna be a lot of stress off my hands. Nice. This is kind of like the final conclusion.
Congrats ahead of time.
Thank you. I'll be playing a wide variety of music, some classic, some old music, some new music. From composers that like wrote for me and my group, but also old music from the 1700s, you know, J.S. Bach, or from the late 1900s, you know, of like Xenakis, you know, a wide variety. So that's the first thing that's coming up. And then also I'm heading to Europe this summer. I'm heading up for two festivals. The first one is the Boom Percussion Academy, which is in Stuttgart, Germany. That's a 4-day intensive masterclass clinic-like session where you work one-on-one with a bunch of German percussionists that are extremely successful in their career.
In their field,
yeah,
right?
in their field. And then I'll head off to Tuscany, Italy for a week-long intensive marimba session, a keyboard workshop where I'll collaborate with a bunch of other musicians, a bunch of percussionists, and we'll perform new works and we'll kind of collaborate when there's a world-renowned faculty that's there, and I'll kind of get work hand in hand with them.
That's going to be great.
So, yeah.
Sounds like you're going to enjoy yourself and learn a lot.
Yep.
Little extra tips and tricks, right?
Yep, exactly.
And make sure you bring that Google Translate.
Yeah, I know. Luckily, the German place was probably the most scary because that one, a lot of people from Europe come in to do the academy. So people from Spain, people from Italy, and people from France, and people from Germany all come in to do this 4-day intensive. Luckily, it's in English.
Gotcha.
So I'm in good hands there, and I've already communicated to them. It's like, I don't know German.
Just so y'all know.
Yep, and same thing with Italy is that, you know, most of the faculty is from America. We're just being, you know, held in Tuscany, Italy, where we'll kind of workshop. So.
Unfortunately, if you couldn't communicate good, you just go straight to the music.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Well, we're, you know, with Map Digital Magazine, it's music plus art equals positive. This is art is positive and it's music, and I like the dynamic. I like what you got going with it. Now, if everybody can relate, you know, especially after you breaking it down, like this is, I'm on the side of the music that I'm on, which would be on the rap R&B side. But even then, it's still expressive. You know what I mean? Like you drew me in just seeing you do your thing. So I mean, everybody, where can they find you at online and websites and stuff? What's your links?
Yeah. So you can find my main website at quincydoenges.com. That's where you'll find all my information. You can find events coming up. You can book something with me if you want. I also have a group called the Waveform Collective, which is a group, a double bass and percussion duo that strives to play in the community and reach out. We do a lot of collaboration with other performers and other composers. We have a show in the works right now of a bunch of Baylor composers writing us music, which will premiere. We're trying to get at Cultivate 712. We're trying to get into that venue. That's the biggest way. My Facebook at Quincy Doenges, or Instagram at Quincy_Doenges. Everything. If you just look up my name on Google,
he's gonna
you'll
pop
be able
up.
to find up. Yep.
He's all over.
Yeah.
Okay, so next phase, what we're gonna do is have you do a little demonstration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
definitely appreciate you.
Of course.
coming
Yeah. No problem. Thank you. Thank you.
on. Yeah.